Ready? Hello everybody, my name's Norm. I'm here at Pisces Pet Emporium to answer the questions you submitted through the magic of the internet. We're going to do our best to help answer all your questions and help you succeed in your hobby. One of the things I like to always share with people is what I call the theory of 2. Assume that 1 plus 1 equals 2, 4 minus 2 equals 2, 10 divided by 5 equals 2, and if you're really fancy with your math, the square root of 144 divided by 6 equals 2. My point being, every one of those equations are equally right and equally correct. So on some of the questions I'll be answering for you today, I'm going to share my experience and my knowledge with you. That does not mean that you might have an equally correct suggestion that you could submit to Pisces if you have a different answer to the question that's submitted. So let's start. I have had a freshwater aquarium for 15 years and now have no fish. How hard and expensive is it to switch to a saltwater tank? That's a very common question we get with aquariums. It's not hard at all. It's a little bit of an investment. You're going to maybe switch up your gravel, your substrate in the aquarium. You'll invest in your salt water, your refractometers, a few different tools that you'll use in the saltwater aquarium, but most of the same rules apply. It's pretty straightforward. Like all aquariums, you're going to get out of it the enjoyment that you invest in it. So if you're going, a 15-gallon tank's plenty big to do a starter aquarium. You're basically going to start with some live sand as your substrate, or aragonite as your substrate, which is a calcium-based sand. You'll introduce anywhere from 10 to 15 pounds of live rock. Put your salt water in there with a specific gravity of 1.025. Usually a temperature of about 26 Celsius, 78 Fahrenheit. Let the tank cycle for 3 to 4 weeks. We carry a full line of Pisces brand products to help that along. I strongly recommend Tank Buster to help the aquarium cycle. You'll start by adding your cleaning crew, followed up by fish and eventually some corals if you want. It's not very complicated, but there's a lot of information that goes along with it. I offer marine seminars in the store here, and I encourage you to sign up for those when you see them online. Now this is my favorite question I'll get, so I'm going to save this one. Okay, what is a good beginner carpet plant for a non-CO2 planted aquarium? This is a great question. Even though it's a few words, it's a loaded question and I love it. So that's actually a two-part response I'll give to you. For a good carpet plant, Telium, or what we used to call pygmy sword chain, is a great carpet plant, very easy to grow, doesn't require CO2. Most aquarium plants, in all honesty, you can have great success without the use of CO2. The key to that success is being consistent with small, consistent water changes. So I'm going to assume, let's talk about a 10 or 15-gallon tank. You want to put your carpet plants in the bottom. The key will be for those plants to thrive and excel is to do about a 10% water change on that aquarium daily for the first 4 to 8 weeks of that aquarium setup, and that will encourage those ground carpet plants to grow at a vigorous rate and to expand, and you'll have great success. You don't need CO2, you just need to do those water changes. I've got some serious algae in my tank after the summer. Do you guys carry any true Siamese algae eaters? Yes, I do carry the Siamese algae eaters. Sometimes they're sold as Siamese flying fox. Sometimes they're sold as just algae eating sharks. There's a lot of common names for them, but they're a great algae eating fish. They're really good at taking care of hair algae, beard algae. Not so much with flat algae that grows on the rocks in the glass, but we do carry those in stock now. The other thing that I'm going to mix into this, because you did say that you have a lot of algae, serious algae in your tank. Algae is about nutrient control in your aquarium. So my suggestion would be help those guys out. I'm a proud Canadian, so I'm going to inject a little bit of Canadian sarcasm. Siamese algae eaters does not make a Zamboni. One fish is not going to go around up and down and clean everything systematically. You'll need a team of cleaners if you want that done. So you need to help these critters along. Start by doing more consistent water changes, smaller and more frequently, to cut down on the amount of nutrients in the aquarium. Have your lights on no longer than 8 hours a day, and supplement your aquarium with some of our AquaPro Step 3 algae reducer and sludge reducer. This is basically an all-natural product that consists of bacteria that create enzymes that eat up sludge and excess nutrients. By eliminating those nutrients, we starve the algae. When the algae starves, it can't grow. So make it a team effort from both the fish and yourself, and you won't have algae. What's the best way to start a non-CO2 freshwater aquarium? That's the question. I'm going to assume that's a planted aquarium. The key is if you're not using CO2 to be consistent with small water changes. Let me expand on that explanation a bit better for everyone. Algae is a plant, it's part of the plant kingdom. Your more evolved plants like your sword plants, your nubius and that, they are much younger plants. And what I mean by that, algae is one of the oldest species of plants on the planet. It was one of the first plants to show up on our planet, which means it needs the least amount of requirements to succeed. It needs water, it needs light, and it needs nutrients. That's it. And it will grow. Your more advanced plants like your cryptocorynes and your carpet plants and your echinodorus, your Amazon swords, some of the plants that you want for aquascaping, they're more evolved, which means they've been on our planet a little bit less amount of time. So in very simple terms, algae, being an ancient plant, tends to rely more on macronutrients. Macronutrients basically refers to large amounts of organic waste in the aquarium. So lots of extra food, that's what they're going to grow off of. The more advanced the plant is, or the more evolved the plant becomes, the more dependent that plant relies on micronutrients. Micronutrients are going to be more like trace elements and minerals, things of this nature, like for example cobalt, copper, zinc, different trace elements along those nature. So by doing those small consistent water changes, you're taking care of two problems at once. Number one, you're reducing the amount of macronutrients, which is going to lead to algae outcompeting your plants. By doing those small consistent water changes, you're going to allow the more advanced plants or the more evolved plants to constantly be replenished with those trace elements, those trace nutrients that will be found in your natural water supply. So just stick to doing those small water changes and your plants will thrive. Well, if you know me, I kind of like have a bit of an ego, so I'm going to read this one to everybody. This is just some kind words from somebody that sent in. Norm is awesome. Norm is the man. He helped me start my saltwater system. Hi, Norm. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for the compliment. I do appreciate that. Looking for any advice on saltwater? My tank is now cycled. Tank looks like the sand is sticking to the walls. Is that normal? Okay, so chances are what you're having happen in the tank is you probably have some diatoms probably starting to grow on the walls of the aquarium, on the glass and that. Maybe some detritus starting to build up. So this is just some organics that are starting to blossom in the aquarium. Just get yourself basically like an algae magnet or an algae scraper, wipe those walls down. I would probably get one that's for acrylic so you don't scratch the glass, because if the sand's on there and you take an algae wiper to scrape it off, the sand might scratch the glass up, so be careful when doing that. But basically what's happening is the diatoms and the detritus that's starting to form on the glass is allowing the sand to collect there because it's sticking to it. So that's just a maintenance issue. So if you add some crazy coralline explosion to your aquarium, this is a calcium-based product to help encourage coralline algae to grow. What we want is the coralline algae to outcompete the diatoms, the detritus that grows in the aquarium, and that's going to prevent the sand from sticking to the glass. So at first, like I say, wipe the glass down with an acrylic safe soft algae scraper and start supplementing your tank, and that shouldn't be a problem in the future for you. What is your opinion on the best all-in-one micro-macro fertilizer for heavily planted aquarium with CO2 and light stocking? So in nature, where most of the ancestors of our fish and plants come from, they come from environments that get new water 24/7. They come from rivers, streams, creeks, lakes, ponds. They don't come from roadside ditches and marshlands for the most part, okay? So it's about water exchange. So if you do those water exchanges, the plants will love you. But to get back to the question you asked, I really like the Tropica specialized fertilizer, which is basically a comprehensive fertilizer. This will give you an accelerated growth with your plants. It'll really give you healthy leaves, vigorous growth. That's a great product. And to supplement that, because there's two different things we're trying to cover off here, there's the Tropica Premium Nutrition. Now this is an iron supplement, and iron's really vital to the aquarium to keep the plants nice and colorful. It's going to make your green plants greener. If you have alternantheria or rotelia, some of these red colored plants or purplish pink colored plants, it's going to pop those colors as well. So it's going to make the green greener, the red red, or the purple purple. Once again, supplement with a broad spectrum fertilizer for heavy growth and an iron supplement to give you good colors with your plants and that should do the trick with the water changes. Don't forget the water changes, guys. That's so important. I've been battling green hair algae in a 10-gallon planted tank for a few months now. It started after I had someone feeding my tank while I was out of town for a month, and they seriously overfed. I've been doing a minimum of 1 to 2 40-50% water changes a week. It's gotten slightly better, but I'm about to get ready to dump it and start all over. So again, the themes here are pretty common. I've been doing this over 40 years, and I can promise you, nobody has unique problems. Nothing's happening just to you. There's no, your fish tank doesn't go, oh, I don't like you, Bob. Oh, I don't like you, Sue. So I'm going to make your life miserable. These are all very common situations, and this is one of the most common questions we get all the time. So again, algae grows because of 3 reasons. There's water, there's light, and there's nutrients. We can't really argue about the water, because if I take the water away, you won't have a fish tank. So the water's there. The light shouldn't be on any more than 8 to 10 hours a day maximum, okay? Anything beyond that's going to be way too much, and that's just grow time for algae. But the big thing is nutrients. If your job or your lifestyle or your family dictates that you can't be doing consistent water changes, and I'm talking 2 to 3 times a week, a 10 to 20% water change on a planted aquarium, that's ideal. But if you can't commit to that, then you need to supplement your tank more heavily with, like I say, our step 3 algae and sludge reducer. And those enzymes in there will do that work for you, but you'll be adding that 3 to 4 times a week. Advice for switching a tank to sand for turtles. Don't do it. That's my advice. Now, if you want to have sand in there, in all seriousness, that's up to you. You can do that. But sand is used for filtering water. It's a natural trapping system. And turtles are naturally messy because they eat a lot. So my whole point is, for turtles to stay healthy and happy, they need a clean environment. If their aquarium gets too dirty, if you build up too much gunge and sludge in there, it can lead to a lot of problems with their eyes and their nostrils and things of bacterial and fungal infections, things of this nature, which we want to avoid. We want to love our pets and take care of them. So my advice would be to have a glass bottom aquarium for your turtles, some larger rocks to adorn it and decorate it, some larger pieces of wood and such. If you're going to have sand in the bottom, you're going to have to do your due diligence of cleaning it. Hit that tank heavily with your sludge reducers just to break down those organics in there. And most importantly, you're going to have to get in the habit of feeding your turtles in a separate container from their aquarium with the sand, because turtles will naturally create waste through defecation and that while they're eating or just before or after they eat. So if you take your turtles out and you put them in a different container to feed, that's when they're going to make the mess. You can dump that container out, wash it up, put your turtles back into their home, and it'll stay the cleanest that way. So if you're going to use sand, follow those rules, otherwise you're going to have issues. Hey, from Windsor, you guys used to make fun that I lived in a city that it's easier to get stabbed than to get a job. Well, I think that's a self-confession, my friend. I've never made that assessment, but that's okay. We love you anyways. Any tips how to stay motivated in the aquarium hobby? I find a lot of my customers get bored with their tanks. Any advice on how to keep people engaged and interested in the hobby? Miss you lots. Just ask questions, engage them in conversation, find out what interests them. Are they looking to breed fish? Are they looking to aquascape? Are they maybe wanting to set up a theme aquarium that tells a story? So just create conversation with your customers, find out what their wants and needs are, and help them get there. I've been in this over 40 years. I never get bored. There's always something new and exciting to learn. There's always a new challenge to conquer. And after 40 years, if I've learned anything, I really don't know anything. There's so much information that a person can learn, so many different avenues you can take. And by the way, don't be shy. Get a hold of us at Pisces through our social connection, our social media, or come on down to the store. Bring us pictures, send us photos, bring me in videos. Share with me what you're doing. Tell me the successes you're having. I know a little bit, but I don't know everything. So the more I get to converse with you, you also teach me a lot of new things, so don't be shy. Any advice on how to make my hair grow faster? Now I'm going to assume this is about hair grass in the aquarium. Just those again, water changes, nutrients, good lighting, that will allow your hair grass to grow. Now if it has to do with growing hair faster or hair more efficiently, I only have 2 words for everybody out there. Chia pet. You're the worst producer ever, Jeff. Thank you everybody for joining us here at Pisces Answer Your Questions event online. I hope to do much more of them down the road. This was actually a lot of fun for me. I quite enjoyed it. If you have any questions, if you have any curiosities, don't be shy. Come on down to Pisces. Introduce yourself to myself or any of my co-workers. We're here to help you succeed. We're here to share in your love for the hobby. Thanks everybody, till next time.